Okay, so before we go on to distance formula, we first have to understand the Pythagorean theorem. The Pythagorean theorem states that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And the way this works is we have each of the legs are a and b, and then the hypotenuse is c. So this would be a, that would be b, or even vice versa. It doesn't really matter. The leg that I labeled a could also be b, and the leg that I labeled b could be a, but no matter what, the hypotenuse is always c, and the hypotenuse is the side that's across from 90. So the way this would work, I would just plug the numbers in, so I'd have 9 squared, because the side that I labeled a has a 9, and then the side that I labeled b is 12, so 9 squared plus c squared, and that'll give me the distance for my hypotenuse, which is c squared. So when I add these together, 9 squared is 81, 12 squared is 144, and that'll equal c squared. Now if I add 81 and 144 together, I get 225. So that's not my c value, that's what c squared is. To get c by itself, now I have to take the square root, because if I have c squared, to get rid of the squared, I have to do the square root because it's opposite. Square root of 225 is going to give me 15. So that's my c value. So the distance for c would be 15. And that would be the exact length of the third side there. Okay, for this instance, we already have our hypotenuse, so our c value is 7, but we only have one leg, so the 5 is going to either be a or b. It doesn't really matter. The math is the same regardless, but we have to still use the Pythagorean theorem, which is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, to find our missing side. So let's go ahead and set that up. So I'm going to say that my 5 is my a value. Doesn't really matter. Plus b squared equals 7 squared, because 7 is my c value. So if I work this out, I have 25 plus b squared equals 7 squared is 49. So the whole time I'm just working to get the b by itself. And you could use the x. I use the b because it's part of a squared plus b squared equals c squared. But if you're like me and you start writing, if you think you're going to get confused and think your b is a 6 or something, you can use any variable you want to after it's set up. You can use x, y, whatever. It doesn't matter. The algebra is the same. And that's what we're doing right now. We're doing some algebra. So we're going to subtract 25 from each side. And that will have that b squared is equal to 24. Again, since we're looking for the actual distance of this side, we need to now take the square root of b squared and the square root of 24. You have to take the square root because that's how you get rid of the squared part. So it cancels that out. Now we have square root of 24. It says specifically in your answer to give the exact length. Well, the exact length, it does not come out even as a square root. So the exact length is just square root of 24. So b value, which is this leg, is the square root of 24. We're not putting decimals. Exact length means exact. So it's the square root of 24 is the most exact way that you can write that answer.